What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Ernest Dove, host of the Mets Minor League Report, part of Sports Wire Radio. That's SPORTZ, wireradio.org. You could also find me on Twitter, X at Ernest Dove, and also on my YouTube channel under Ernest Dove for all things Mets, prospects, videos, St. Lucie Mets game highlights, and more, as well as interviews like the one I'm about to do right now. My guest today is a 23-year-old left-handed reliever in the New York Mets organization. He was selected in the 20th round of the 2022 June amateur draft out of Grand Canyon University. After the draft, he made 3 scoreless appearances, and then in 2023, while pitching between low A and high A, he had a combined 27 appearances with an overall 3.07 ERA, 51 Ks in 41 innings, opponents hitting only 194 against him. Unfortunately, during camp to begin the 2024 season, he was shut down, underwent surgery, and is now currently on the successful road to recovery. Let's talk some draft, Mets, pitching, baseball, and more with the one, the only Eli Ankeney. Eli, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, I'm excited to have you, man. I mean, even behind the scenes, even from last year, or when you like just screaming in your appearances, showing up right out of the gate in pro ball, dominating, I was like all about you for like the entire season. Uh, so I'm pretty excited to get to know you and talk about you and see what you got going on. Obviously, I said a couple of things in the intro, so now people can know a little bit more about you and what's going on currently. But as I try to put things in a little bit of order, I wanted to first go back in time because this is my first time talking to you and interviewing you officially. And
Right.
whenever I do that, I like to talk about the draft day experience. It's been an amazing thing when I hear some stories. Some are small, some are big, some are like crazy. And the reason why I definitely wanted to talk to you about the draft day experience is because you were drafted, like I just said, in the 20th round. And for everyone who's now familiar with the structure of baseball in the draft and June amateur draft, there's only 20 rounds in the draft. So now I'm fascinated to know the experience for you and maybe even some of the thought process based on when and where you were taken.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts going into that final round and like final day of the draft in general? Like, what was going on with you that day, week? What was happening?
Yeah, I'd say first of all, I didn't have an agent until like a month prior of the draft, which was also a crazy factor, I thought. I had a good season at GCU. Wasn't really thinking too much about getting drafted, and then did a couple showcases. And then at the showcase, I did really good at what was it, the Padres showcase.
Mhm.
And an agent that actually was an agent of my teammates at GCU was like, "Dude, I thought you had an agent," and I'm like, "No, I don't have an agent." And he's like, "Well, I'd love to be your agent," and so we became close together, and he actually got me into the summer league, the draft league over in Ohio. I played for the Scrappers, and so that went well. And then things are starting to build up. More teams started to call me and like talk to me. And funny thing is that Mets barely talked to me. Really, I talked to a lot more other teams than the Mets. Um, so going into the draft, the first 2 days weren't lucky enough to get picked, and the last day was intense because all the rounds were going by and you watch everyone else's names getting picked and you're like, man, maybe this isn't my year. And but I'm getting these calls from other teams and no one's pulling the trigger. And lucky enough, the Mets were picked me, and it was probably one of the coolest moments of my life. Me and my family were all shocked. Our faces were lit up because we lost. We were kind of losing some hope towards the end, and then right at the end, 20th round, get picked. It's just a moment you'll never forget.
Yeah, it must be. I could only imagine. And I did, you know what? I did communicate behind the scenes with some of my sources. I got a few of those, and even through the scouting departments, one of the head scouts is not even with the Mets anymore. But when I started talking about you when you went on fire, and I'll talk about it a little bit when you started the like pro ball in general for the Mets, they were pretty excited about you from day one. And even talking about like, dude, 20th round, that's ridiculous. And they were like, well, we think he was great. So even from the amateur scouting department, regardless of the round and anything, they were seeing you as a legit guy. So that's why I was
Yeah.
excited too when I started reporting about you, because some of the staff in the Mets organization were also telling me privately, like, nah, he's good. And we like some of the things that he was doing, and we feel it's going to carry over, and we feel it's going to keep going in pro ball. That's why I was excited. Uh, and then also, again, hey, let's talk about some of it. Like you said, for your university, can you talk about your baseball experience in college as an amateur?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have quite the journey, like most guys do. My first 2 years, I didn't really play. First year was COVID. I was also injured that year, so dealing with dealing with all that. Second
Mhm.
year, it was more like a mental issue, just trying to lock it in and trying to get back. And those guys who had that COVID year all came back, so that was tough for me. But then third year is like the year that I had the opportunity, the year of my draft year, like, and through those first 2 years, I took advantage of you know, the the struggles I had to go through of not playing for 2 years, being second year being fully healthy, just not getting any playing time, and it really like gave me like a foundation of like having a resilient like mentality in that third year, which gave me that ability to come out firing every outing and getting being able to have an like opportunity to get drafted in that summer, which is why I praise GCU. Like Stank, the head coach over there, always worked my butt off and everything I had to do. And I'm thankful for everyone I met there. And it's great campus. It's great school. Like I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't go to GCU. That's for sure.
Yeah, and again, well, obviously, shout out GCU, and then I guess someone's putting GCU on the map baseball wise because you get drafted, and then a year later, Zack Thornton gets drafted by the same Mets. I guess that maybe the Mets just really like GCU as much as you did, or what did you even know, or what do you know about Zack Thornton, who's also getting drafted from the same university a year later? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't play with Zach. Obviously. He came in a year after I got drafted, but in that off season, I met him. Great guy. I knew he was good. Like people talk about him, and then obviously he had a phenomenal year at GCU, which was awesome. But I want to shout this guy out. His name's Brian Reed. He's a area scout in Arizona. He's like he was a long term friend of mine and my dad's, like just growing up. Just he's always around, and we met him. He actually sold my dad some Legos at one point, which is kind of cool because this is all before I got drafted, so we never knew like this would come true and stuff like that. So he's actually the guy always at our games, and he's the Mets guy talking to the Mets coordinators and the higher ups and talking about us. And so I got to give him some credit because he's putting us on the map. Because GCU mid major, but we're a really good program, and a lot of good lefties like me and Zach are wanting to. We're hungry and we want to play some pro ball.
yeah, which you started to do since you got drafted. Even in the beginning, like I said, you came in after the draft. You played sparingly, which is what everyone does. You barely get in, but then you just pitched all scoreless innings. And then you dominated during the year, especially early on in low A. But before
Mhm.
we even get into some of that, I mean, let's talk about Eli Ankeney. So tell us about yourself. What pitches do you throw? And I always like to ask, even if it's weird or uncomfortable, like, how are you on the mound, especially as as an arm, as a lefty? Like, I want to know those things too. But if you can tell us about yourself, your pitches, and how you are.
Yeah, I mean, in college, I only threw a fastball and a curveball, which is funny because now I don't even throw a curveball. And so right now, my arsenal currently is a fastball, cutter, splitter, and like you can call it a sweeper, slider, whatever you want to call it, something that moves to the right. Um, but yeah, I've been developing those pitches. I feel like pretty confident using those. I started all those new pitches like last year and a little bit before in the off season, so they're pretty new to me, but feel pretty comfortable using them. About me though, on the mound, I try to have that resilient like mentality, like I said.
Mhm.
Um, you know, there's high leverage situations that you want to be in, and that's me. That's the role I like to be in, like either pitching behind your base or some other guys like. just in the back end of games, like high leverage situations. That's what I feed on. I love that adrenaline. That's that's what you want. I like I love shutting down the opponent and then giving my team a chance to win. Really, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's pretty interesting, when you start mentioning the pitches because they're very similar to a lot of guys these days. And it looks like the Mets organization, who's been changing a lot and upgrading their resources and their player development. And it
Mhm.
seems like everybody at this point, one way or another, is giving it a shot with the cutter and the sweeper. So it's pretty exciting. And that's for righty or lefty, obviously. So it's really cool to hear. And I know I've talked about it a lot on social media, so it's pretty interesting what direction the Mets are going in, especially when we see some of these guys succeeding now in the last year or so. And then currently, there's some pitchers absolutely dominating right now in the farm system for the Mets. And some of it, like a Tyler Stewart and other guys, they're literally dominating and including pitches that are being refined more like the sweeper slider and the cutter. So it's cool not only seeing it, the new development, but also how they're succeeding and thriving, which is pretty
Correct.
exciting. But now for you, again, you're going in a different direction right now because, like I said, you're in the rehab process. So
Hmm.
it is always interesting, if you're a little okay and comfortable talking about like, hey, what's that grind look like? Because I've been talking to players for years. Obviously, some years ago, it was always about the lack of money as well. You guys aren't rich now, but at least there's a form of a salary going forward. But again, the minor league grind is always an amazing concept to me. But what is your experience going through the minor league grind from the level of so behind the scenes that it's 100% like rehabbing for like an entire season, like right
Yeah, so I've been in rehab for about 5 months now, since January, and I can tell you right now, like the entire staff, my teammates here, like
now?
coaches are all like behind your back. Like they got you. They got your back. Their goal is to get you back on the field. And every step you take forward, you take in rehab, everyone is there for you. Like we go out, watch bullpens, the guys who are throwing bullpens right now, and we're watching them, cheering them on, making sure like, those things don't go unnoticed. And, people work hard and we really want to get back to the game we love and getting back to the field, which is the ultimate goal. But it's tough because you wanna pitch, you wanna get back on the field, compete, do like I said, do the thing you love. But when you got like guys that have big league time in here, or like these staff members who've seen other guys go through this process, and like other guys who have gone through two TJs or like multiple surgeries, like you learn a lot of like valuable information from them. And not only that, but like I said, everyone just cares and it's a great environment. And so that's what you want to feel like in when you're going through especially like a major Tommy John surgery.
It's got to be, man. I can only imagine. As always, very easy for me to say, and it's usually a joke on social media amongst fan bases. But it's like, hey, well, at least you got it over with now rather than later. So that's kind of the joke. Do it now rather than like 5 years when you're like in the majors. But
Yeah,
but again, like, hey, when we talk about your experience from GCU into pro ball, and it's like you weren't even barely kind of getting going, learning in amateur ball, and then here you are in pro ball last season through your first 6 appearances, not bad, 9 scoreless and 2 hits. Like when you show up in like low A in pro baseball and you just literally dominate for 6 straight outings, did it almost feel easy? I mean, what was going on in your mind? Like, okay, I'm a pro guy. I got some innings the year before. That was super cool. And then you show up in low A and you just destroy
yeah,
everyone for 6 games in a row.
yeah. I mean, obviously that was fun, and obviously like guys get on hot streaks,
Mhm.
and you feel like no one can touch your stuff, and feel lights out every time, feel great. But that's the beauty of baseball. Sometimes you'll feel great, sometimes you won't feel great at all, and it will humble you. Even the best of the best will sometimes blow a lead or get lit up. But I think it really like sets a tone for how a baseball player truly is, if they like how they respond to adversity like that. And I know I had some outings like that eventually after those first 6 appearances, that I blew a lead or blew a save, and it hurts and you really want your team to win. But it feels good in the moment, but obviously you just, try to look forward to each opportunity, each next outing you have, and try to give your team a chance to win. That's my only goal.
Which and I think you're going to be doing it. And that's why I'm so excited too about you getting healthy, getting stronger. You have the extra pitches now in your arsenal to go with some early small sample size success and performance in pro ball. So it's going to be exciting to see you get into things again starting next year. And then
Hmm.
also, again, it's kind of a tough question to ask, but what are some of the goals you're setting for yourself, maybe for the rest of this kind of baseball year, quote unquote, through the off season?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I'm still going to be in rehab for most of the off season and like leading up to spring training.
Hmm.
But the goal is, to get back on the field and stay healthy. That's the ultimate goal. Um, and I gotta thank like my staff again because they're all over the little things, like making sure you feel good every day, and if you're not, like they're on top of those things. But I'm just excited to go back to playing baseball again. That's really what I want to do, and I want to move up through that system, the Met system, and see where things go from there, and see how far I can go next year, and just be thankful that I'm playing baseball because you only have so long, and my UCL only had so long too, but now I got a new one, and so I'm ready to get back after it.
And I'm ready to support you. And I know a lot of the Mets minor league junkies, I know they were excited about you from the beginning. Like I said, like the numbers, sometimes the numbers don't lie. And when you were starting off the way you did, your name was starting to be put out there. And I'm excited to see your name come back out there next year. So as we start to wrap up, and I'll let you go, but I also wanted to kind of take a little bit of time for a minute or two for any kind of shout outs on your end. It could be personal, family, loved ones. It could be teammates. It could be coaches. I just wanted to give you it could be your university. I wanted
Yeah.
to give you a minute or two to allow yourself to kind of take the stage and maybe hype up people who, especially at the minor league level and pro ball and amateur ball, who helped you get to this spot. If you can, just take some time and give some shout outs and some praise to anyone that you feel has helped you along the way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like my family and friends back at home in Arizona, I appreciate them and love them so much. They're very supportive through this very serious, time in my life and throughout this baseball experience. Um, GCU, I mean, shout out to them. Like, they're a great program. I'm thankful for my time there. And like the Mets org in general, like the minor league staff, the minor league coordinators, everyone that I've met, like have been very great to me, like very supportive. They obviously, like I said before, they just want the best for their players. They want them healthy as possible, and they want them to get back in the field and give them a shot to make it to the big leagues. That's everyone's goal. And like I said, like pitching coaches, like Kivel in the rehab department, he's great. Dan McKinney, he's great. Tavo, he's another great one. Like there's plenty of great pitching coaches that I've gone through and that have helped me get to where I'm at today. The staff, I mean, I can't be thankful for the whole staff for the rehab department. They're awesome. They're supportive and they're great guys. Like you go in every day like and just you're happy to be there because they're not gonna beat around the bush. They're straight to it. Let's get after it. Let's get better. Let's conquer the day kind of attitude, which I'm very thankful for, and I'm just excited to get back in the field and going to be uh you know I've been saying thankful a lot, but that's the attitude of the environment that I'm in, and it's just awesome. I love it, and the Mets are doing a great job.
And it's definitely something that could be said on and on now within the Mets organization. I know I've been saying it a lot behind the scenes in social media, online, and reports. I mean, it's legit. And I know since Steve Cohen took over, the resources have skyrocketed. A lot of the advanced fancy technology and the pitching lab and all that good stuff. It seems like there's so much positive things going on. And with an Eli Ankeney, you know what? One thing you can't teach is being a lefty. So that's exciting. Just being a lefty alone, reliever, you're going to be an exciting quantity for everyone to think about up the levels. You're like a super asset. Just being left-handed. So I'm excited to see the progress that's to come. I want to see some of that sweeper slider and cutter action to go with the fastball. I mean, I was even hearing some things in the beginning for you for pro ball. The fastball was looking good in their eyes as well from day one. So now that you got your new bionic arm, now I'm excited to see how the velo looks, adding in the extra pitches. You're going to have what it takes. That's why I'm excited. So even going into next year, when everyone starts following you more and more as the season begins next year, I think more and more people are going to be excited about Eli Ankeney, and I think is going to be somebody to follow up the higher levels. So again, thank you so much, Eli, for your time. Thank you to everybody that's listening and supporting me, my little show here. If you can continue to follow me on Twitter and YouTube, just search Ernest Dove, Dove. If you can, guys, can please subscribe and like and do the whole thing that people talk about, like turn on those post notifications and all the corny stuff that YouTubers do. And other than that, everybody, I thank you so much for all the ongoing listening, watching, supporting. And yeah, you know what? As always, let's go Mets, but specifically the minor leaguers. Thank you.